Again, welcome our participant and attendants, professors, researchers, and keynote speakers. Now, keynote speaker Besnik Limaj, a cybersecurity component leader, lead team Europe initiative on digital connectivity in Central Asia. He is an accomplished cybersecurity leader with over 25 years of experience driving international development and digital security initiatives. He has successfully led numerous European Union funded programs aimed at strengthening cybersecurity resilience across critical infrastructure sectors worldwide. Besnik has served as a team leader for major multi-million euro projects, including the 3-year cybersecurity East project for 6 Eastern Partnership countries, EU project and Team Europe initiative C4CA for Central Asia. His global track record spans projects in Europe, Africa, Asia, and Latin America, where he has supported the establishment of national SOC, conducted capacity gap assessment and developed robust cybersecurity framework aligned with European Union and international standards. With experts in European NIS Directive, NIST, ISO 27001, and SCADA security, Besnik brings a strategic approach to risk management and other expertise. So Besnik Limaj, he visited us. Also, he was also in Bangladesh and many Central Asian countries and Asian countries to lead cybersecurity component. Please start your keynote speech.
Thank you so much, Professor Sazad. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. So, dear distinguished guests and respected colleagues and organizers and all of you participants of this TEHI 2025 conference, good morning and very warm greetings to everyone that is gathered now in Samarkand State University and to all participants that are joining this conference. Although I'm joining this conference virtually, I can almost really feel the pulse of beautiful Samarkand, a city that was like for centuries has connected these civilizations through knowledge itself. A beautiful city that I really had the privilege also to visit in May 2025 and to visit also your beautiful Samarkand State University there as well. So my name is Besnik Limaj, as Professor Sazad mentioned, and for more than 35 years I've worked in software engineering and also cybersecurity, designing different systems that really help governments and hospitals and also citizens to operate safely around the world. So from in early ages of 1990s, developing these kind of management information systems, at that time, 2 leading EU-funded projects, starting with the first EU-funded project in 2014. It was called NCSEC at that time, and leading other projects around globally, Europe, in Africa, Asia, and the Horn of Africa also. And now I'm leading, as Professor Sazad mentioned, this cybersecurity component for Central Asia there as well. And during this period, I've really seen how this technology can transform nations when it's built on trust and security. So let us, all of us here, just imagine that these kind of messages today can really be like deeply personal, because technology can really save lives, but only if we protect it in that sense. So my talk today is these like guardians of the digital future, And really, this one draws on ENISA, which is a European Union cybersecurity agency, guidance for the health sector. I mean, since the topic in your conference is health, I also tried to cover this part there as well. And they explore how this kind of like a practical and disciplined cyber hygiene can really make a difference between vulnerability and resilience in here. So we can begin our journey together into this kind of like a digital bloodstream of healthcare and learn how to keep it clean, strong, and secure. So I see a lot of you are there, and we can just imagine, like when you went a few minutes ago, you know, for a tea break in there. You can just imagine like walking through a modern hospital corridor there, where every device from MRI scanners or infusions pumps is quietly connected to the digital bloodstream of healthcare. So this presentation is more or less related to that part, to keeping this kind of like a lifeline clean and secure. So I mentioned ENISA as the European Union cybersecurity agency, and they provided just recently, now in September, fantastic guidance, you know, about that helped really these healthcare institutions, and we will be talking about that one today. So we can explore some simple disciplined habits in there to safeguard this past. So healthcare basically is like a digital heartbeat, and it never sleeps. So any click or any scan and any like a patient record is part of a system that really cyber attackers see as an open door. Basically, like at home, where maybe you forget some window open at night, or some door or at the gate in there. In the same way, also hackers, they can't wait, you know, to see this kind of like an open doors in there. So when ransomware, which is quite a random attack for hospitals in there, they know to encrypt the doctor's data or the patient's data in there, and all these kind of systems and hospitals and healthcare itself needs really to be protected. So usually these solutions lie in everyday actions, like from patching, awareness and preparedness. And cyber hygiene isn't just like an IT responsibility, but it's the modern oath of care itself. So as I mentioned, ENISA prepared this kind of guidance, and it doesn't matter whether you are like a part of a large university hospital or working in a small or somewhere like a rural clinic with just one server there. And the message is clear, you know, that cybersecurity really starts with awareness and the sense of sharing a responsibility in that sense. So they offer this kind of like a practical and realistic steps that any organization, any hospital or ambulance can really take to strengthen their digital resilience in that sense in there. So cyber hygiene in healthcare is not like a single big project itself, you know. So it is made up of these kind of like 8 connected areas that are listed in here, and they work together to keep these kind of like systems strong and resilient. So each one of these, whether it is like focused on protecting technology or training staff, really adds an essential layer of defense. So you can think of it like when you go to like or have like a wellness plan for your organization or hospital or ambulance for like a kind of like a digital health in it. And one of the first things that you need to know in your ambulance or hospital is that you cannot protect them if you don't know that they exist. So first thing, you need to know what kind of assets you have. So building this kind of like an accurate inventory of systems, devices, and applications is like charting the anatomy of your digital body in there. So basically, you know, you have this number of servers, this number of computers. these kind of operating systems in there, and out of these ones, these are the most vulnerable ones in there. So you have to go through all those ones in there and make this kind of like a asset list or inventory in there. So you start by naming them and understanding, how they fit into your environment in there. And visibility is really the foundation of security. So you really need to know what you have in your own systems in there. And I mentioned these kind of thieves, they usually look into these back doors or open windows, maybe at your home, to get through. So, and in the same way, even at hospitals and these health systems, default settings are like unlocked doors in there. So you really need to strengthen these kind of configurations and remove this unused software, or to limit these administrative privileges in there. Usually, also when you go to on holidays, you really need to deactivate or temporarily suspend these kind of accounts, because usually those ones are the most vulnerable ones and the most misused ones in there. So secure configuration really turns these kind of systems from liabilities into the control assets, and each one is tuned, for resilience itself. In terms of the access control, basically access defines trust in there. So strong passwords, and I'm sure that every single one of you has this kind of strong passwords, and also multi-factor authentications are really not only like technical hurdles in there. They are like digital equivalent of the ID checks in a hospital. And it is really important to implement these least privilege principles to ensure that people only reach what they need, and at the time when actually they need it in that sense. So this kind of approach really reduces the risk of human error, and also limits the impact of any potential compromise in there. It is very important that every unpatched system is like an open wound, if I may say, in that sense. So cyber attackers really thrive on outdated software. So you really need to update your systems and operating systems and any other systems that you may be using in there. So this creating this kind of like a culture that values timely updates and clear patch management really transforms this kind of vulnerability that hackers can't wait to see into kind of like a vigilance in there. So even when updates cannot be applied straight away in there, isolating and mitigation risks really helps to protect this kind of like a wider network itself. It is important also to know that detection is more or less like a half of the battle in there. So malware protection is really a diligent log monitoring act, like an immune system, and to spot these kind of malwares, and also to respond to this kind of anomalies before they actually start spreading. So logging is basically not a bureaucracy, and it is just a kind of like a storybook of your system health in there. So they really can give you like some clues who entered in your system, maybe when you went back home and after working hours, and usually that is the most important time that is used by hackers that can hack your own systems in there. In terms of backups in there, they are really a kind of like a, since we are talking about this like a healthcare sector, they're kind of like a hospital's defibrillator, if I can say it, in when there's like a cyber crisis that could be potentially facing your healthcare institutions, whether hospitals or ambulances. So when these kind of like a ransomware strikes or data that is corrupted in there. They really bring these kind of operations back to life in there, and at least you have some saved data in there. And it is really important to do this kind of like a regular testing and verify backups to ensure that they aren't only archives, but they are really reliable recovery lifelines in there. And these kind of like backups, if you do not test them, is really a risk that you might be underestimating these ones in there. So it is very important also to think about your network as a hospital ward or zone, and really you need to do this kind of segmentations in your network itself, and you need to put this kind of like a firewalls to secure protocols and continuous monitoring to see who is coming and who is potentially taking any data in there from your systems. It is also very important that to keep your corporate emails protected in there. So every inbox is a potential infection point for every hospital, every healthcare institution, ambulance, or similar. So these kind of like phishings that are a type of social engineering, they really remain one of the most common and preventive forms of breaches, for not only healthcare, but all the other systems in there. So you really need to start to think, to filter, to have a kind of like a sandboxing and also authenticating messages in there to create this kind of like a clean and secure environment for communication in there. It is important also that internet is both a kind of like a lifeline, but also a battlefield itself, and protecting these public-facing systems with web applications and firewalls, DDoS controls, and or to secure this kind of like a remote access really keeps hospitals open while staying defended there as well. And it is also another important factor that mobility really empowers this kind of like a clinicians in that sense, but this unmanaged mobility really invites chaos in your healthcare system. So mobile device management, encryption, and short lockout timers really bring together the convenience and control. And the secure phone is really a safe gateway for patients' care in there. So you really need to be careful on potentially losing your devices, because one lost device should never become tomorrow's like a data breach headline for your hospitals or ambulances or healthcare system in there. And patients are also becoming really kind of like a digital caregivers of their own health in there. And as telemedicine as it continues to grow, these kind of apps and portals must be really resilient by design. When I started 36 years ago developing applications, at that time we did not have this concept of security by design at that time, and now it is very important that this kind of like a clear security guidance, automatic logout features, and strong privacy safeguards, they really make sure that empowerment does not come at the cost of exposure itself. And data is not all like, if I can say, created equally in this, because some records, they require really the highest level of protection, and because of their sensitivity or regulatory importance, it is also important for your students, because at some point they will be becoming digital guardians of your own country and the whole region, and in many cases most of them will be required to be digital guardians of the world itself. So they really need to put quite a lot of effort into enhancing their own capacities, and through our EU-funded projects we are trying our best to enhance capacities of Uzbekistan and also the whole Central Asia by doing quite a lot of trainings, and we are more than happy that next week from Monday to Friday we will be doing a CISSP training, and I'm amazed with the registration turnout at the moment. It has reached the number of nearly 1,400 registered participants from various universities, and I'm very happy that also Professor Sazad has forwarded the invitation, and I see quite a lot of students and also lecturers and professors that they have registered, and we can't wait to see you on Monday until Friday for this CISSP training that we are doing in there. So you will be learning quite a lot in that training, and we are looking forward to that. In terms of the logs and monitors, every access to the patient data really tells a kind of like a story. So this is you can find quite a lot from those kind of data. So you really need to continually monitor who has accessed those data, when and why, in order to prevent these kind of silent breaches. And you really need to put quite a lot of effort in auditing that it is not only about the mistrust, but it is about accountability and also transparency, giving patients confidence that their most personal information is really treated with respect at the hospitals or ambulances and any other healthcare institution itself. Physical security is also the first firewall and the screen that is left unlocked maybe when some doctor or nurse go for a coffee or a tea break or lunch break, they leave it open in there. This kind of can be like an open doors, for hackers that can harm the system. So you have really to secure the hardware and also verify vendor reliability in that sense, to make sure the protection doesn't stop at the keyboard itself. You really need to think that incidents are not if they happen, but when they happen. Because there was also a famous quote of a Titanic captain when he said, "It will never happen to me." And actually, he was wrong, and the history proved us that he was wrong. And these kind of hacking systems can or this kind of like overconfidence, if I can call it, can really harm us all. So you really need to have these predefined roles and escalation paths and kind of like a run books that transforms panic into a kind of like precision. So next week we invite you all who can join us, and you can learn quite a lot in these trainings for that sense. It is very important that you really need to take incidents very seriously in there, and cyber resilience really thrives in community and by collaborating with suppliers and peers and also national authorities. And I'm very happy when I've seen that in Uzbekistan there is, but also in Kazakhstan, you have a cybersecurity competent authority. And they are doing a fantastic job with their national cert, and more than happy to support them as well. So it is very important to share intelligence, threat intelligence, and also to have this kind of like a clear communication channels to shorten recovery time in there. So also floods and fires and power failures, they really can do quite a lot of harm, and the resilience really must transcend also into the cyberspace itself. So you really need to integrate this kind of like a physical continuity planning to ensure life savings devices and also data that remain available in there. And, very important also who and where are you buying or procuring your equipment for healthcare and ambulances or hospitals in there, because cybersecurity usually begins also at the procurement itself. So every vendor relationship is a potential entry point, and hackers can use these kind of like vulnerabilities that maybe third or the fourth party can have in that sense. Ongoing vigilance always sustains trust, and these kind of like suppliers really must earn and maintain access right through transparency and incident reporting and compliance, and they should really inform hospitals or ambulances and all the healthcare and the other sectors that are critical infrastructure, you know, if they had any breach or incident, so they should report promptly on time. So you need to secure these kind of relationships that are healthy partnership, to have a clear, monitored, and mutually accountable there as well. Humans are usually both the weakest link, but also the strongest defense. And usually it takes only one click that can do quite a lot of harm, that maybe a human or the employee has clicked in your systems in there. So your staff really need to understand their role in cyber hygiene. Security should become like a culture and not a compliance there as well. So the engagement really builds retention, and that's why I mentioned that we will be doing quite a lot of training with our EU-funded project and the exercises and phishing simulations in there, and we're looking forward to be doing some of those also with your amazing university there as well, and also with cybersecurity center in Uzbekistan, that is like a cybersecurity competent authority of your country in there. And really, it is important for every hospital has like a heartbeat of movement of patients and visitors and staff, and you should control access and have this kind of like a visible identification to ensure safety without hindering care, and the secure perimeter really keeps threats outside while maintaining these kind of like an openness vital for healing there as well. And the best cybersecurity sometimes really begins with a locked drawer in there, and locked screen automatically when you're not using it there as well. So this kind of like protecting this hardware and preventing these issues and ensuring the fire safety aligned digital and physical resilience itself. So the secure workspace is the front line really of operational continuity in there. Transformation usually starts with actions in there, and this checklist that is in here really converts these kind of like principles into the priorities, multi-factor authentications, patching, segmentations that you really need to have in your hospitals, ambulances, and trainings and incident readiness there as well. And also these in terms of the metrics, what really gets measured, they really help also to get managed in here. I'm nearly finishing by tracking also this kind of like a key indicators. It is very important, like a patch rates and multi-factor authentication adoption in hospitals, and these systems are very important there as well. And that's why I mentioned that ENISA does this European Union's cybersecurity agency, and they provide quite a lot of material, and they just published recently these kind of guidelines for the health sector in here. In closing, I've reached the end. So in closing, cybersecurity really has become like a shared responsibility that requires collaboration between nations, organizations, and individuals, and really all of us together we can really build and help this kind of like a cyber resilient ecosystem in Central Asia. And in healthcare, really, I mentioned that every click really carries consequence, and behind every firewall stands a patient who really trusts us to protect not only their lives but also their story itself. And for that reason, cyber resilience is not merely technical, but it is also ethical there as well. So from Samarkand, where you are actually at the moment that was once this kind of like a heart of the Silk Road, maybe really try to send a new message across the digital Silk Road, that security and innovation must grow together in there. So let us all be guardians, and your students at your Samarkand State University be guardians of this digital future, and not by fear, but by purpose, and really by collaboration and comparison. So thank you, Tehi 2025, for welcoming me to virtually join you into this community. And as I mentioned, I'm Besnik Limaj, and it has really been an honor to share this journey with you. So stay safe in body and mind, and also in bites. These are my contact details, and more than happy to answer any email that you might be sending there as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Besnik,